Hello, beautiful people. This is Bamby Salcedo greeting you and sending you so much love and appreciation. I hope that you're having a beautiful day today. As you know, before we start, I want to acknowledge the land where we're standing on today and the land to wherever you may be. I am here, we are here, greeting you from Tangtalan in Los Angeles. And at this time, I want to invite the four elements that ignite our being. I hope that our conversation sparks the fire that we all have within and that inflames all of our listeners to understand and to take action. I hope that the water will help our conversation and thoughts to flow freely with no limitations or barriers. And I also hope that the wind inspires us all to deliver the message that our people need to listen today and that it penetrates our hearts and minds and it continues to provide the strength that we need to continue to move forward in this world. And of course, it is with much humbleness that I also call upon Mother Earth, who continues to provide for all of us to exist. We ask our Mother Earth to feed us with strength and power, and that we feed the soul of the people who are listening and who are watching us today. It is with great honor that we invoke the spirits of our ancestors to guide us and to give us strength, intelligence, and tenacity to continue to move forward in this world and to continue to fight for what is right for all of us. Today, I have the great honor and privilege to share space with not just an amazing individual, but an incredible person who I call my friend, my dear sibling, and el movimiento, the struggle, uh, Mr. Alfred Fraijo. Alfred, welcome. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Bamby.
Of
It's a
course.
pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Alfred, tell us, who is Alfred? Where does Alfred come from? How does Alfred has come to be who Alfred is today?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to share this space with you and your listeners. It's an incredible honor. I have a huge admiration for you and the change that you're making in the world, and so it's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.
Who I am, it's interesting, Bambi, because today my husband and my son and I started putting together our altar at home
Oh, beautiful.
and in time for Day of the Dead. And I started that tradition of putting an altar together because one, I wanted to pay tribute to our culture and an acknowledgement that we stand on this earth based on the hard work of many people behind us, people that may not be here physically, but are with us in spirit. So today is a day of reflection for me. And this is a great opportunity. So when you ask me who I am, I think about my ancestors. I think about my father who died too young. I think about my grandmother who was a farm worker and grew up in Tijuana. Was an entrepreneur, raised my mom as a single mother. My story is an immigrant story. My mother was born in Mexico, in Sinaloa, and she was the daughter of my grandpa's first relationship, first marriage. And unfortunately, that relationship fell apart. My mother ended up as a young toddler, ended up abandoned by her mom, rescued by an aunt, and moved to Tijuana. My mother says that my grandmother, who she was raised ultimately by her aunt, who she called mom, got her a new birth certificate, changed her name, and gave her a new story, and raised her as her own. And that, to me, is really who I am. It is about this power of reinvention, about the power of storytelling, and a commitment to forge your own path, no matter where you come from. It's always a license to be able to create something new. And my mother has taught me that, even though she grew up as a single, was raised by a single parent, grew up incredibly poor. Would cross the border wherever there was work in the fields with my grandmother.
Were you born there or were you born here?
I was born here in San Gabriel.
Uh-huh.
My father is first generation Mexico-Americano, and he was born in LA but raised in the San Gabriel Valley. The Fraijo family, my last name, that I inherited from my dad, of course, were the founders of Irwindale. So they came from Mexico, moved up north in search of gold. They were gold prospectors in the late 1800s. So they were also looking for a new story, a new opportunity. And I get that from both sides of my family. And so that's who I am. I am a person who is an amalgamation of stories, of struggle, of finding opportunity in the United States. You know, it's an immigrant story, but it's also an American story.
Of course. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for painting the picture in that way. Um, and you know, just talking about your story, and that story also leads to who you are today.
Yes.
I know that you have a professional life.
Yes.
I know that you have a curriculum vitae. And I know that right now you're in a really great, I would say, exciting moment.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about your professional career.
Yes.
Right? Because you're a
Mhm.
lawyer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm sure it wasn't easy to get there. And so, and I also know that right now you're have entered
Mhm.
this other space.
Yes,
So please share with us
absolutely.
how you have gotten to this moment, and then we can talk about Somos.
Fantastic. You know, like most stories, it's not linear, it's not sequential. A veces te
Como
dan
una
vueltas.
telaraña.
Exactamente. And that's what I tell young people, that sometimes ambitious young individuals, they think of their career as sort of lockstep. You know, you take one step and everything else is guaranteed, or the next step is guaranteed, and that's never the case.
Right.
You have to go where opportunities take you. And for me, the foundational aspect of my career has been wanting to help people.
Mm.
I grew up, as I mentioned to you, with immigrant parents. I grew up in Boa Heights. And I really was influenced by my teachers in high school and in middle school. And they taught me that there were more possibilities for me than just sticking around in the East Side, that I could pursue an education in the East Coast. And ultimately, they encouraged me to apply to the Ivy Leagues. I got into Harvard, and I went to Harvard for as a undergrad. I got my degree in government, which is political science, because growing up in Boyle Heights, a big influence in my life were the politicians, were the elected officials, those leaders in public, including our council member, Richie Torre, who taught me a lesson about leadership and community organizing and representing our gente in the seats of power. And in his case, it was his city council. So I was really inspired by that, and I wanted to go into politics. And so I figured that if I wanted to go into politics, I should learn how the law is written, how it's enforced, and go to law school. But my ambition was to be in politics. It wasn't to be a lawyer. But when you go to law school, you become a lawyer. You get to practice. And I decided to devote my life to civil rights work. And the way that I did that, Bambi, was that I understood that a lot of the decisions that were being made about where land uses could be located, where infrastructure is located in our community, where freeways are located, where public
And how
facilities.
people is impacted, right?
Exactly right. Those decisions oftentimes don't take into account Black and Brown people. And historically, they have not. And so our communities have to bear the burden
Right.
of a lot of that infrastructure and support. Freeways are a great example of that.
Or when the oils, what do you call it? The oil
The oil fields,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, like they're where like our people are.
That's exactly right. All the industrial uses, Bambi, as you know, are disproportionately located in poor Black and Brown communities. But those things don't happen by coincidence,
Of course.
right? They're deliberate and they're intentional. And if we're not in those places of power and influence where the decisions get made, our communities are going to suffer. So that was my target. I wanted to be in that space. I wanted to have the tools that were necessary to shape the way our communities grow, the way they are healed,
Right.
the way that we build facilities and actually like open space and green space that clean the air. You know as well as I do that a lot of our children in Black and Brown communities are disproportionately impacted by air quality and environmental injustice.
I mean, a lot of buildings or apartments are next to the freeways.
Así es.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I wanted to shape that differently. I want to think about a different way of planning our communities. So I started also exploring the fact that already our communities are influencing the way the urban environment looks. Think, for example, our street vendors, right? They're also change makers and are challenging the typical economic forces, right? They're part of the informal economy. They are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They're taking over public spaces. They're activating spaces, making it safer for children to play outdoors by having eyes on the street. And so I knew that there was going to be this opportunity for me to connect the dots, to understand that our community has power. Our community has influence by virtue of our sheer ingenuity and energy. And I thought that as a lawyer, I could do my own part. So that's been my process, what has brought me to the point I'm in today, which is, as you mentioned, Somos Group that I founded earlier this year.
Yes. So tell our people, who are Somos, or who is Somos? What do you do? When did it become in existence?
Mhm.
Everything that you do.
Okay, well, I'll try to be as precise as possible. It's great to be with you all, and I look forward to continuing this conversation. You are more than welcome to reach out. We can be contacted at somosgroup.org, somosgroup.org. It is a multidisciplinary legal and real estate advisory firm based in Los Angeles with an office here in downtown LA and also in San Francisco. And we are a group of uh, BIPOC and LGBT professionals that are focused on the themes that I just talked about.
Love the intersection, BIPOC and LGBT.
Así es.
Yes, 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 yes. So people can contact you on somosgroup.org.
Yes.
And what type of services can people have access to?
So for our shop, we say we're in the business of building cities. So any organization or any individual that
Intentional cities.
así es.
Intentional cities that care about our people.
Así es. That's right.
I love that.
Cities that are livable, cities that are just and inclusive, cities that are healing, cities that are giving our children and our youth an opportunity to live their best and fullest self. And the idea behind Somos is really that we, as people of color, as LGBT people, as marginalized people, historically marginalized, we have lived experience that is going to show the rest of the world the way out of our hardest and most difficult challenges.
That we're able to thrive.
That we are able to thrive, that we have the answers, that our lived experience is as precious and as important as any law degree, as any other type of degree, that we have the expertise already by virtue of being experts in our built environment, and we should be consulted in the way that cities grow and build. And so for us, I call ourselves, in addition to saying we are in the business of building cities, Bambi, I call ourselves Sherpas. What is that? We're guides. That's our duty, to be able to guide our people through difficult challenges, to guide our people through the planning and permitting process, to build facilities and buildings like the ones that I know that you are involved in, Bambi, that are going to be open, that are going to be providing the services that are so critically needed. So that's the extraordinary privilege that I have. That's my obligation, to bring myself into the fold and be a problem solver.
And I'm so grateful that, we get to work together, that, I that we as an organization get, to be part of that vision, because
Absolutely.
it's so beautiful. Can you imagine if we had the ideal world? I think that would be it, the ideal world.
Mhm.
And so if we want, what would the ideal world look like to you?
Such a great question, Bambi. For me, I think the ideal world is when we can bring every aspect of our identities to bear in the work that we do. For me, as a professional, right, as a person who has been a survivor in many respects,
Mm,
oftentimes I thought that I needed to check in portions of my identity
mm,
depending on the rooms I was in.
mm,
And the reason why I created Somos and the reason why I enjoy working with visionaries like you is that you identify the whole person and recognize and honor every aspect of that person.
mm.
And when you do that, we are invincible. When we do that, we can change the world. But we have to go in our own process to begin to honor those aspects of us that may be um, shrouded in shame, that may be triggered by fear or
Traumas.
trauma. Exactly. So there's a healing process.
Mhm,
You know, everybody's journey is different. But when that moment comes where every aspect of who you are is bright
mm,
and is open and is available,
mm.
I think that's when we're most powerful. That's my goal. That's where I think that the world will be where it needs to be, where every individual doesn't have to turn off certain lights of themselves, that they can be their brightest.
People can be just who they are.
Así es,
Sí, sí, como debe de ser.
the way it should be.
Yes.
We get to celebrate difference. We get to coexist, right? A mosaic of different colors and different types of people.
I love that. It's so beautiful and amazing. I want to ask you a question because I know that it has not been easy. And you touched upon a little bit about, you know, your life and, you know, your ancestral lineage. Um, but I know that when you were young,
Mhm,
when you were a little child, you know, you were you, right? When you were like 5 years old,
mhm.
right? You had no worries in the world, you know. What message would you give to that 5-year old Alfred?
I think the message would be that you are powerful, that you have agency, that you are a bright, kind, open hearted soul,
Mm,
that your life has already been paid for by your ancestors,
mm,
that your role is to share what you have inside of you, that bounty that we all have in our hearts and in our minds, that you don't have an obligation to prove anything to anybody, that you are absolutely complete. That's what I
mm.
would tell that child.
That is so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted for us to also talk about, you said you have an office here and an office in San Francisco,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
Yes.
How are you able to manage so much? Who's helping you?
I have a team. I have an incredible team of professionals, lawyers, planners, architects, advocates, lobbyists. We have a tremendous amount of talent in both offices. I don't do it by myself.
Mm,
I have a partner on the law side who is an absolute extraordinary lawyer. And then on the advisor side, because we have those two divisions within the company, I have two principals that are based in San Francisco. But we go where the need is. We're working in the Central Valley with farm workers. We're working in the border in San Isidro as well,
mhm,
helping organizations build housing for our migrants that are crossing the border, who we forgot our story. the American story, which is we are built on the sacrifice and the willingness of people to come across the border.
Mhm. Yeah.
This nation is a nation of immigrants,
Yeah.
and we're going to be stronger because of that. And so I'm working with organizations that are opening their homes, opening their organizations to the migrants that are coming across the border.
To provide the services that people need.
Services, legal representation, healthcare, mental health.
Mm,
Mental health is a big issue, Bambi,
it is.
right?
I mean, the mental health is specifically in our Latino community, right? There's still a lot of a stigma around that.
Sure.
There's still a lot of denial around that. And so certainly mental health is it's critical in our community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we go where the work is. And our hope is that we continue to build. I believe we have a formula for success at Somos, and our aspiration is to be national. Is to go to other states, is to use the same type of formula that I just mentioned to you, Babby, which is that our lived experience combined with our professional and education is powerful.
That's amazing. So obviously you mentioned a little while ago, right, that you don't do the work alone,
That's right.
right? It requires other people. So how do you think people who are watching us, people who are listening to us, can contribute to make sure that Somos continues to grow, continues to do the amazing work that you're all doing?
Uh, Thank you for that opportunity. I think that my advice to your listeners would be to answer the call to action, to get involved in their neighborhoods. That we talked about the fact that my journey is not linear, and most journeys are not linear. I would say that it's important to build relationships, is to expand your network, is to align yourself with other folks that have the same vision that you do, the commitment to make our communities and our neighborhoods better, the commitment to help those individuals that might need our help, and to start those conversations, to be willing to put the phone down or our technology and gadgets down, and to connect with people, to find those opportunities for kinship, for bonding that transcend the virtual world, Bambi. So much of our day to day experience is virtual. And I think that the more connections that we can make, physical connections, we'll be better off as a community because that's truly the way the world works.
Yeah.
We can't forget the fact that we're all connected, and the more we think about that, and the more that we commit ourselves to be connected with others, we'll be better off.
Beautiful. You're here, people. We're social beings. So make
Mhm.
sure that, whenever you find the opportunity, connect. But at the same time, we want to encourage for you to be involved in your local government, right? Like influence in whatever way you can so that those changes that need to happen are able to become a reality.
It depends on us. We can't take that for granted. Our participation in local elections and regional and national elections is important if we can vote. And if we can't vote, we can volunteer. We can get other people there to the ballot box.
Yeah, and we can influence people, right?
Así
And
es.
that's why, we are always telling you we're all influencers, right? And so influence the people that to take action, to participate, to be involved. Um, any last message that you want to give the beautiful people that who are listening to us, who are watching us?
I hope that you get a chance, if you're listening, to support the work that Bamby Salcedo is doing. It's critical work in our community. To the extent that you can share our platform and get other people to listen and be inspired, then you will have accomplished something really important. I encourage you to do
My dear, thank you so much. But I wasn't thinking you were gonna say anything about me. I wanted for you to say something about you, about a message that you wanted to give people. But I love you and I appreciate you. So
Thank you, Bamby.
yes, beautiful people. As um, this conversation is so rich and so important. But we want to obviously thank Alfred for being here with us. We want to thank you for being here with us. Um, Thank you for sharing space with us and for learning with us today. Our hope is that we have given you a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of joy, and that you also feel inspired. We hope that you use your power to change the world and that you influence others to do the same. Please remember to always, always be you, be amazing as you are, live yourself out loud and freely, and please be fearless. This is Bamby Salcedo. Once again, thank you so much. Nos vemos hasta la próxima.
The Fearless People podcast is a product of Bamby Salcedo and is produced by Mejia TV and can be found in all major podcast platforms. You can support this podcast by liking this episode and subscribing to it. You can also support my retirement by rating this podcast and following me on social media. Thank you so much.